What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of SCUM. This right here, as you all know, is the podcast where we dive into the deep, dark, murky waters with a plethora of legendary guests. I am, of course, your host, your bastard of ceremonies, the number one scumbag, Rex Ruger. That's REXXX. You might also know me as AKA the King of Sleaze, AKA the Hair Metal High Priest, and most importantly, AKA Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. Take a look, folks. The hard science is on its way to proving what we all already know, that you are looking at the son of glam, the front man for the band. Just smoked a few grams. I got a million fans. I'm your ice cream man, Mr. Wop Bop Loo Bop Wop Bam Bam Shazam. Hot damn. Woo! Feeling good. And everybody in the house, of course, including you guys out there, is looking good. That is, of course, made possible by a little product placement here. If you too would like the quaff like Roth, get you some and spray responsibly. Coming to you as always from the lush lavender lounge of love where it all goes down, which has recently gotten a facelift. Check out the new digs. One thing that hasn't changed, I am accompanied as always by the Keith Hernandez puppet, number 17 in your programs, number 1 in your hearts, and he will occasionally text me questions. He is the only living that I know of puppet that is able to text, and he does it on the sly too. This is, of course, the No Frills podcast. You don't get no frills because we don't know how to give you frills, but what we can give you is thrills, and that's looking at this kisser and that kisser. So you're welcome. Got a great guest today, very excited, and more importantly, he's probably really excited because he has landed himself a phenomenal gig, which we will talk about with him. I don't want to steal his thunder, so to speak, but very exciting news in the thrash metal world, if you will. Just great news if you're a metalhead. And he's here now, so we'll let him talk about it. Let's chop it up on PodScum with him right now. Where is he? Hey, there he is. How are you, sir?
What's up, man? It's been a busy day. Like I'll
tell you what, Norman Skinner. It's too bad you don't have some big news to come on here and report, you know?
Right.
Norman Skinner, people might know you from Skinner, but now people are going to know you from a little thrash band that is now making, and I like what Craig LaCicero called this, not a reunion, but a rebirth.
Right.
Of the mighty Bay Area band Forbidden, who, Jesus Christ, have we sorely needed these guys back, and it's great to have them back. First of all, how do you land this gig filling the shoes of the almighty Russ Anderson, who I will assure fans out there has just chosen to not continue? Everything seems to be fine with Russ, correct? This is just not an avenue he wants to explore right now at this juncture of his life. So how do you come into the fold?
It was a complete accident. I mean, honestly. So I just happened to. So Craig had another band called Dress the Dead.
Yep.
He was playing a show down in the Bay Area, like 90 minutes south of where I live. I'm in Concord, but I hadn't seen his new band yet, even though I was familiar with the music. I saw some of the people I knew. A lot of friends were going to be there, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to make the trek down, hang out. Went down, hung out. You know, Chris Contos was there, Matt Camacho was there, Craig was there.
Yep.
So we just hung out and it was all cool because I was only more acquaintances. Like I didn't know Craig that well or anything.
Right.
A little while later, I guess he was putting together for the Dynamo Festival, the Bay Area International, right?
Right.
And all his singers were, out of town on tour, Randy from Lamb of God, Mark from Death Angel, et cetera, Hyrax. So I guess it was Chris Contos who I just hung out with these guys. So I must have been fresh on their mind because they, we were just hung out.
Yeah.
He's like, why don't you give Skinner a call? So he called, Craig called me and he's like, hey man, I was wondering if you could learn 12 songs, that we're playing for Dynamo and just come in and work with all these different musicians. That way our timings are on and we have something to go off of.
Right.
And I was just honored and humbled to be asked because, I'm stepping in a room with, some heavy hitters, right?
Thrash royalty. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like a kid. I'm like, oh yeah. So I did my homework, went in there, did all the songs. And I wasn't aware that none of those guys were going to be playing Off the Edge by Forbidden. But it was on the list, and I had learned it. So I'm like, what about this one? And Craig's like, yeah, I mean, we know the song. I guess we can run through it. So I did it, and I wasn't aware that doors were opening behind me, and the guys were like, and all, I was unaware of all that. I was just in my zone doing my thing.
Right.
But they liked it so much. He's like, hey, you helped us out with this. We're going to have a San Francisco show. We'd love for you to come and sing a song. Maybe we'll give you like a Chalice of Blood or something. That'd be pretty awesome. People like that. So I figured I was going to get one song and be able to go and play with, a whole slew of these guys, and stuff. And, by the end of it, I had 8 songs, more than any other singer to perform. And Chalice of Blood was one of it. And I got to perform that with Warbringer. And I guess the place just went insane over that one.
Yep.
And once again, if anybody watches any of Craig's interviews, you'll see that he's like not really entertaining anything. He's aware that I'm nailing the stuff, supposedly. I mean, I'm just in my own lane. I'm in my own lane. I'm not thinking about Forbidden or none of that. And I guess Alcatraz Festival called him and was like, hey, we know Russ is out of commission. He's retired. Like, he's not doing any music ever.
Right.
He doesn't want to. Could you guys get a different singer, do the 35th anniversary of Forbidden Evil? And maybe can you guys get Chris Contos on drums, because they're a big fan of Chris. And Chris had been playing with Craig and the Boneless Ones. So that's when everything clicked for him. And he was like, in Craig's words, he's like, the universe was speaking to him and he had to answer. So he called his manager, and he's like, I want to do this. I want to see if the guys are into it. So he called Matt Camacho first. Matt said he's like, oh, I've been waiting for this call, man. Called Steve. Steve, he had a lot of heartache recently, a lot of things that he had gone through in his personal life. So he said he really needed this right now also. And then that's when they called me, and out of the blue, man, I just got the offer, and I was like, F yeah, man.
How long does it take you to think about an offer to sing for Forbidden? 2 seconds?
It was like 2 seconds. It was 1 second to think, should I ask my wife and family about this? And the second to go, nah, they'll be fine.
So, and obviously, this is not your first go around with music. You had your own project, Skinner, but is this, do you approach this now, anything you're going to do with Forbidden, as just another gig, or is there more pressure?
I'll answer that yes and no. And here's the why. I work the same no matter what project I'm doing. So when it comes to the work, the actual work, the prep, that I see it as any other project, band, anything I'm in. The no, there's 2 parts to the no. One, there's a ton of pressure because Russ is just a vocal beast.
Big shoes. Yeah.
Right. A legacy, right? A legacy.
Yeah.
So, I can't phone that in, man. People, the fans will eat me alive, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So there's a lot of pressure from that. The second reason why I would say no, I don't think so, it's because I'm a Forbidden fan. Man, I grew up in San Francisco Bay Thrash. As a fan, I was bummed when the reunion came and went. I was bummed when they broke up. I was bummed that they only came back with 1 album. I don't want that to be what's going to happen this time around. I told the guys, I go, you got me for the long haul, man.
Right.
I'll make, you want to do 10 years? Let's make as many albums as we can. Let's go and visit these places that a lot of people never got to see Forbidden.
Right.
They're not going to get to see Russ and maybe some of the original, but I'm going to stay as true as I can to his stuff and really deliver it as a fan myself.
Right. And obviously, all the work that Forbidden did is phenomenal. You talked about Forbidden Evil, even Twisted into Form. I mean, I believe those are absolutely seminal albums in the thrash scene, criminally underrated. I do believe Forbidden were one of those thrash bands that were way ahead of their time. They just were doing some stuff that was really, really crazy and really, really innovative. How much did those albums mean to you growing up, though, as a fan? Because you said that you were a fan first and foremost. Is that a fair assessment of those albums in your mind as well?
Yeah, those are the two, right? So you got the first 2, and then you got the ones that came out in the 90s that I think were overlooked by a lot of people, and they were more the sleeper albums, but those are really good albums. And then for me, I have to actually admit, Omega Wave, that's up there with those first 2
a great album. Yeah.
I just, that thing was had a way more modern sound and just a maturity about it, and I really loved that album. My first thrash show as a kid I ever went to was Forbidden.
So they have a soft spot. They have a
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of pictures of me back in the day wearing my Forbidden shirts and stuff. So absolutely.
And what was your upbringing like? Was music always going to be your path? How early on did you know? Did you have aspirations to do anything else?
Oh man, that is a whole. I'm going to see if I can get through this real quick for you.
Okay.
Everything in my life is accidental. I don't know. Things just fall in my lap.
Yeah.
So I was hanging out with some guys in high school, and they were going to do a talent show.
Okay.
And like most kids, and you guys get together and they're playing, they're going to do a talent show.
Right.
Like 2 weeks before the show, their singer bailed on them. I just happened to be that friend in the room that was always hanging out.
Right place, right time. Yeah.
Nothing. But they're like, you're singing.
No pressure.
Why not? I'll do it. Yeah, let's do
Sure.
it. I was horrible, man. But we got, I did the show. We got disqualified because everyone jumped on stage and was stage diving and pitting and stuff.
Nice.
DQ'd. And I just kind of caught the bug. I was like, hey, I want to do this. So I joined a bunch of garage bands, little low-level club bands, and I just started trying to teach myself to be a better singer. And I just kept on with it. And now here I am, all accident, man.
And now, like I said, you also had a band called Skinner. Will Forbidden now have your total focus, or will you be able to juggle both?
Well, so it's actually more than that. So here's the thing, and I'm glad because that way I can plug my other band. So I've been in a lot of bands. I did a couple albums with a band called Hellscream, which is basically the band Cage, but instead of Sean Peck, it's me. So there's 2 of those out there. It's like traditional speed metal. I did 5 albums with the power thrash band Magica. A lot of people don't realize I was the singer for those last 5 albums.
Okay.
So people know me from that, but I stepped away from all those and I concentrated on my really heavy power metal band, NIVIANE. So we have our 3rd album that's being mixed right now. That was my main band before I got the Forbidden call.
Okay.
I'm going to absolutely continue with that band, but I had to talk with all of them and I told them, you're not number 1 anymore.
Yeah.
all scheduling and stuff. You guys have to know you're getting put in the back seat, kids. So they're absolutely cool. Skinner is just my solo stuff. I don't perform live with it because it's really hard to get a live band together. Basically, I look at NIVIANE's going to be my power metal band. Forbidden is my thrash band.
Right.
And Skinner is all the weird other crap I feel like doing whenever I want to do.
Fair enough. Yeah. So, and I realized probably a lot of this stuff, and I did see Craig on Zetro's show, and he did allude to the fact that he has started to write some stuff that he would like to see become Forbidden songs. And I know a lot of this stuff, it being his band now, him being him being kind of like, the guy now in the driver's seat, before it was kind of him and Russ, but and you might have to defer to him on some of this stuff, but what is the plan going forward? More shows, new Forbidden music, all of it?
Yeah.
I mean,
I can actually answer some of that for you.
Okay.
So number 1, the focus right now, the focus is Alcatraz Festival, and that's getting mainly myself and Chris up to speed. Right. Which will be fine. But aside from that, he and Steve are already working on riffs. I'm going to work really close with Craig and we're going to write a new album right out the gate. So there's absolutely going to be new music. As for he always wrote a majority of the stuff with Russ, but a lot of it was himself. I've written all my own lyrics and melodies and everything all myself for years. But as a Forbidden fan, I don't want to do that. I'm going to work with Craig. I want him to write the lyrics like he always had. I want him to work with me the same way he did with Russ, so we can keep that same dynamic. I don't want Forbidden fans hearing a new album going like, this is just totally different. I want that same vibe, So I'm totally going to defer to him a lot.
So the creative process will be, very akin to what it was before.
Correct. That's what I'm shooting for.
Yeah. And what is your creative process like personally when you sit down to write and create music, because you have been doing this for so long? Are you somebody that's, getting sparks of creativity throughout the day? Do you set aside time to create? Do you have a certain room of the house or an ambiance you got to set to roll this kind of stuff out? Or
no, I'm not high society boy or anything like that, man.
Okay.
Basically, I'm not one of those singers that carries around a book of poetry and bullshit.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
I need music. Once I have the music, so like I'll take my band NIVIANE for instance. I'll just use that as an example. The guys give me full reign. They send me music all the time, just songs. I put it in a queue. I listen to it over and over and over. I get my melodies and my timings and stuff, and then I chop it up like I'm at Benihana, man. This is not the chorus.
Nice.
This goes here. Yeah, I'm really big on song structure. That's the whole thing. And I want vocals to fit. I don't want too many weird things. So that's it, man. And then I work out my lyrics from there. I usually do it right here where I'm sitting, and this is my studio and whatnot. So yeah, but yeah, I'm very much just a normal dude who just likes to work on music,
Now, as somebody who is a creative type, what was the period like when we were all hunkered down in quarantine during COVID? Was that a particularly abundantly fruitful period for you creatively, or did you kind of just peel back and relax? A lot of people I know approached it very differently that are in the arts and entertainment field.
So I mainly used it for writing. I had a whole queue of different music sitting there, so I wrote basically the whole third NIVIANE album during quarantine. I also reached out with some friends, and I released it as Skinner, but I did a cover song of what I call it a quarantine cover, right? It's by Midnight. He's the original singer for Crimson Glory. Okay. I did a song called Seven Angels. He put out this special limited edition fan club CD of just him playing acoustic guitar and singing of songs he had written. This is after Crimson Glory, and then he passed away. And I always thought that song, I'm like, oh, if somebody made that electric and made it into a full song rather than just a little acoustic piece, that'd be badass. So I did that during quarantine as well, and it's the best selling single I've released as a solo artist. So
now, speaking strictly from a fan standpoint, when you do get a chance to actually, as a fan, sit down and listen to music, who are some of the bands that you really like or look at as like, influences? Yeah, obviously Forbidden aside, we've already mentioned them, but growing up in that Bay Area, which I'm assuming you grew up in that area.
I did.
Such a rich, historical, thrash scene there. I mean,
yeah. For thrash, like if I had to pick other than Forbidden, like 4 bands off the top of my head that I really love, that are thrash bands, I'd pick 2 from the Bay and 2 not. I'll say Testament, Death Angel, and then I'll go across the seas. I'll say a Creator and Onslaught. Those are some, some thrash bands I like. But like I said, I'm a big power metal guy. I listen to a lot of Scandinavian stuff as well. So I like bands like Evergrey, Soilwork, Mystic Prophecy, Primal Fear, stuff like that. So, so Craig and those guys, they know when they reached out to me, they know that I'm mainly a power metal singer that can do thrash. So it's going to be interesting. They're going to be like, hey, don't do so much of the stuff.
Yeah.
Like short attack. So so I'm gonna try to really bring some of that in. Plus one thing that I think I'm gonna add a little bit more on some of this. I want this album to be really heavy. I can do a lot of death vocals, so I'm gonna put those as a layer, as like a spice in there to really heavy it up, but keep that same forbidden attack. So I think fans will be being for a surprise when it's done. Yeah.
Now, when you do, when you guys do go and do these tours or festivals or any of that stuff, you mentioned some of these bands, that you're a fan of. Anybody in particular that would be somebody that would just bowl you over as far as, I don't want to use the word starstruck. I mean, we're grown men here, whatever. But I mean, just like somebody that you would be like, wow, I'm sharing a bill with this person.
For me, since I've been in the scene for so long, a lot of times I just look at it as a peer level, but it'd be those bands that I grew up that were I've never really met, like the Iron Maidens and the Metallicas, the Anthrax, Pantera, those bigger bands. I think I'd try to keep my shit together, but at the same time I'd be like,
hard not to. Right.
Yeah, right.
It's very hard not to. Being as that you brought up Pantera, your opinion on the Pantera reunion, because obviously, Craig, and I love the way he worded calling this a rebirth, because I think that that just shows so much respect to Russ. I kind of divided opinions out there on the whole Pantera thing. What are your feelings on it?
I absolutely don't think it should be called a reunion with just Phil and Rex. But I'm happy it's being done because, like, for instance, I have 2 teenage kids and they're both like Pantera. So they're hearing, this music, and now they'll actually get a chance to see it performed live. So regarding that, I'm ecstatic, But as far as a reunion, I mean, it's not really a reunion. I don't know what word I would use. It's not even really a tribute, It's
right.
Yeah,
it's hard to put a finger on it. Yeah, it is really hard to put a finger on it. Well, so you mentioned having teenagers who obviously it sounds like they're metalheads. So you've certainly done a good job of raising them. No question there. So what do they think about this news?
Oh, they've got, all of a sudden they're like, wow, I got a lot of metal street cred.
Yeah.
My friends. So yeah, like my daughter, she plays guitar, and she's 16. So she's in the middle of high school, and all her friends, like, they had a parent lunch thing, so I came and sat at the table with them during lunch, and they're just like, this is so cool, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
My son, he's like, I don't know, he listens to bands that I'll see him wearing shirts. I'm like, I don't even know what that says.
I know.
He's into some really heavy stuff, and he plays drums, and he just turned 14. So yeah, he's in that prime age where he's just soaking up the metal,
Yeah. And it seems like in the death metal world, you make a good point. The heavier the music gets, the more indecipherable the lyrics and the band logo.
Yeah, right.
It just seems to be one of those things where you're right. You are looking at it and wondering, what the hell am I reading here?
Exactly. Yep. You got it.
So what was it specifically, though, for you growing up that really pulled you into being specifically a Forbidden fan? Because I'm not a musician myself, but I know a lot of people, will say, oh, it's the guitar tone, it was the lyrical content, it was, it was this, it was that. What was it for you that made them kind of near and dear to you?
I'd say there's two things. One was the energy. Anybody that saw Forbidden back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just hair and just mayhem, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, they had just this technical prowess of their playing while they were just going nuts.
Yeah.
So that captured me right away as like a teen. I'm just like, oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then number two, obviously, it was Russ's vocals. I mean, the guy, he has one of the best attacks, and that's the word I'm going to use, attack in his voice.
Yeah.
It just cuts through, and just sitting there and watching this, and then hearing him all of a sudden have this attack, and then just step back and be like, hold these notes and screams. I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
So
and of course I would implore people out there to go out and check out, it is floating around the YouTube right now, your performance of Chalice of Blood at the Interthrational. What's going through your mind when you're up there, though, playing that song with Warbringer? Because I did notice a lot of people in the comment section said had pointed out that Craig was kind of over on the side, kind of watching this whole thing. Yeah. Now, I don't know. Have you had this discussion with him? Had the decision already been made, or do you think that was what planted the seed?
No. So I can answer all of that. So let me start with the first part of the question. One, I was nervous as hell.
Yeah. You didn't show it, though. You didn't show it.
That's what Craig says too. So so Craig's not only there, but I got all these other guys. I got guys from Skin Lab and Violence. I got Phil Devil over there. Everyone's just, I don't know. Everyone's just watching this particular performance, right?
Yeah.
And then I heard from Craig that he was watching it and he was like, "Wow, this guy's performing this as though he's done it before, and it's to like a stadium and everything." I'll tell you, when I got off stage, man, a buddy of mine bought a beer for Carlos, the drummer of Warbringer, and he's like, "Hey, you bring this backstage to him." So I had to walk this full beer backstage. I was shaking so much that beer had lost about a quarter of it because I was just like from that performance.
Yeah, dumping adrenaline. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was. But I do know that Craig mentions in his interviews that he's been given, and these are things I wasn't aware of until I actually watched these interviews myself.
Right.
When I did Off the Edge in the little rehearsal, it was like, oh, okay, I'm aware of this. Then, I did Chalice of Blood in the rehearsal with Warbringer, and he's like, all right, I'm seeing this. And then he sees the live performance of it, and he's like, all right. But even after all that, he wasn't thinking of doing anything about it. He just knew, here's a guy that could do it. It really, from what I understand, the seed, I guess the seed had been planted for a while, but the fruition of it and everything coming together wasn't until he got that call from Alcatraz Festival. So it was a lot of things.
Right. Now, obviously, the metal community can be, kind of picky. They like to put everything in genres and subgenres and really scrutinize bands. And, they've gone away from their sound. Obviously, you see a new Metallica album come out. Everyone's either supporting it or chopping it down, cutting it off at the knees. So obviously you're stepping into big shoes right here. What would you say to win over skeptical Forbidden fans? Like what to expect from you coming into this band?
They can, they can expect that I'm going to try to stay as true to Russ as I can, try not to change the formula of the band in any way, but I am a different voice. I mean,
right.
It's going to be me. You're not going to hear that same, oh, that's Russ. No, you're going to hear that's Norman. That's why they call it a rebirth. It's a new chapter of Forbidden.
Right.
It's, and that's just the way it is. So I definitely I have no real control over what the music's going to sound like because I'm letting those guys write it. But I'm hoping for a little bit of a throwback. I would like to capture some of that early energy, some really good speed. Some speed, some attack. And, that last album, Omega Wave, didn't have a lot of those early screams and power, that Halford stuff. And, I can still do that. So I would like to bring that back as well. And throw that in. So I'd really like to touch on some of those earlier albums. I mean, because this is going to be my first Forbidden album, my first foot out there. So that's what I'm looking.
And as somebody, as you mentioned, that has children and has a family, is this something where you've sat down and had discussion with planning out? Obviously people become, in different chapters of their life. The narrative changes, the itinerary changes. What kind of a position are you in personally to go out and tour this thing, having a family and having other priorities? Are you guys at the point, all of you guys, as bandmates, are you at a point in your life where you can just go off and do select dates and not take this thing out for months and months at a time? Is everybody, not on board with doing that?
I guess it's a little early for me to really know that since I've only been in the band like a month. I haven't had those discussions. Me personally, of course I still have my day job. Right. But yeah, my family's completely supportive. My kids are already teenagers. My daughter's getting ready to drive. So it's there. And plus they're used to me doing tours and stuff. So that's fine. Family life is good. The day job, this goes out to anybody that's wanting to pursue a music career. If you can get a remote job,
do it.
I've worked remotely for over a decade. So every time I do a domestic tour or anywhere in the Americas, I take 0 time off. I just work from the bus.
Great. Yeah.
Save it. So I save it for like overseas. I'll have to take some time off. But I'm already thinking about it. I'm like, at some point, I might need to do a leave of absence for a while.
Right.
And then if things go well and if things catch on, there might be the day where I live the dream and I can work part-time or leave the job. I don't know.
Right.
I have no idea.
Now, again, when I listened to Craig on Zetro's Toxic Vault, he did talk about kind of, already kind of taking the initiative to write songs. Is there any kind of a timeline? Because it sounded like getting an album out of new music was really something that was top priority for you guys. Any kind of a timeline on when that would be for the fans out there? And I know you don't want to rush this thing because obviously it's been a long time since we've had new Forbidden music, dropped on us. But is there any kind of just even a ballpark time frame of when you'd like to get this thing out?
Sure. The only thing that I can say is I've heard Craig say it one time to me. He said, by this time next year, I want to be in the studio.
Awesome. Okay. That's great.
That's, and I guess it all depends on how quickly the songs come together, right?
Yeah.
It could be quicker. I mean, if everything just rolls, sometimes songs just come together. If all of a sudden he's just churning them out, we could be in as soon as he's ready, and the songs are written.
Yeah. Now, when you step into a band like this, it's almost like you're stepping into you're stepping into a band that's already pretty legendary. At least in the pantheon of the metal world. How much of that? I'm trying to think of exactly how to word it. But when you step into a band like that, how much of their past, of their past history, really, you know what I'm trying to say? is it one of those things where, like, when you step into a band like this, is it surreal? I mean, I can't imagine this being a situation where, you're in love with this band, and then all of a sudden you're just almost like plucked. It's pretty.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty crazy. Like, how do you compartmentalize it all? I mean, it's got to blow your mind.
It is.
And I don't know what the fuck I just did for the last 30 seconds. I was on I was almost like my computer that like fucking like hourglass turning. I didn't really know like what the hell I wanted to say, but it's almost like one of those like, Jesus, pinch me. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I get it. There's been one person said, "Oh, you must feel like Ripper Owens with the whole Judas Priest thing."
Yeah.
And I'm like, absolutely. My analogy is like, I feel like Rocky in part 1, where Apollo's people just contacted him like, "You want a shot at the title?"
Yeah,
like,
that's a great analogy. That's a great analogy.
That's the way I feel. But there's that word that you use, surreal. When I'm replying to people, I've used that so many times on social media. I'm like, yeah, it's completely surreal. This is totally surreal. But at the same time, I don't think it's really hit me yet. Like, yeah. I just don't. I'm just like, okay, I have work to do. Like, I guess just because Chris Contos is calling me, should I answer?
Look at the shores. You should. Of course you should.
Hey, Chris. What's up, buddy? I don't think it's. Huh? Oh well.
Look at this. We're watching. Look at this. We're watching rock stardom. In its finest form, right here, man. Just I love the fact that that Chris is in the band and that Steve is on board and Matt, of course, and Craig. I mean, it really gives it its pedigree too. I mean, it is going to sound like vintage Forbidden because of the players involved in it.
Yeah, I mean, you basically have the Omega Wave lineup, and then you got Contos, who's a monster drummer.
Yeah.
And then this guy Norman that no one knows who the hell he is, but that's the surprise, right?
It's like that Mark Wahlberg movie.
Right?
I wish I would have had all this in my head if we could go back 2 minutes ago when I looked absolutely nothing like a podcaster when I was tripping over my fucking tongue here. But I mean, I think I've ironed out what I wanted to say now. But yeah, it does. It really seems like. I mean, it really seems like. You went from fan to all of a sudden, you're not only in this band, you're now going to be like, more or less the front man, or i.e. the face of the band.
Yeah, and going back kind of full circle to your pressure question. Another reason why I guess there's a little bit of pressure is when you listen to the interviews, this was never supposed to happen. There was not going to be any more Forbidden. Right. And I just happened to be in the right place. So there's like, well, so a lot of people are like, well, you're the reason this is happening. I'm like, I don't think I'm fully the reason this is happening, but I mean, that's a lot to put on my shoulders. I don't want it to, I think that the guys really wanted to do it at some point too.
Right.
Things just fell into place.
And I don't think it's a decision that Craig probably arrived at lightly because, in past interviews, he's always talked up, his kinship, his brotherhood with Russ, So I don't think this is a decision that he arrived at very lightly because it almost sounds like he would have rather not even done Forbidden if Russ wasn't involved. So, I don't think this is probably a decision that he arrived at very easily.
I think he was fighting it for a while. I think he was like, no, you know what? I think it
doesn't feel right.
Yeah, the universe kept poking him.
Yeah,
and I'm glad it did because I'm like, this is going to be fun.
Absolutely, and I will let you know that obviously, as you can see the poster behind me, I too have inherited legendary status as the son of David Lee Roth. You might not know this, and the DNA testing will soon prove this. But fortunately for you, I did not throw my hat into the ring for the Forbidden lead singer, or you would have had competition because you were looking at frontman extraordinaire right here. So keep that in mind, okay?
Right, and I can't do those kicks. I can't do those DLR kicks.
Well, I'm 50 years old. I mean, I could probably pull those kicks, but it would probably mean a couple days. It would mean a couple days out of work. Yeah. Okay, so what you're saying is Forbidden has not gotten a frontman at this stage of the game that can do the David Lee Roth kick.
No. I mean, if I do it, I'll probably pull a groin.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. I mean, we don't need the plug pulled on this whole thing before it even gets going, man.
Right.
So I mean, listen, man, I really appreciate. I'm sure you're being swamped. This is obviously very big news. I'm sure there's a lot of people coming at you, wanting to talk to you. I really appreciate you doing this with me, man. And it's been a real pleasure talking to you. And I've always been a huge Forbidden fan. And I love the fact that you're in the band. You seem like a great guy. And from what I've seen, from the recorded stuff on YouTube. Yeah, and it looks like you've got a lot of fan support too, because the feedback in the comment section is really, really, really good.
Yeah, that you know what, I will say that video, it was people were asking, oh, where can I see that? And I couldn't find it. Then all of a sudden, the day after the announcement went up, it's on YouTube.
Yeah, that's not going to be that's not going to be kept under wraps when you nail a performance of Chalice and Blood like that. I mean, obviously that's a Forbidden staple. It's the first track on Forbidden Evil. I mean, I think it opens up the record or whatever. It's obviously a very well-known Forbidden song, and nailing it is no easy task. As you said, Russ's shoes are very big to fill. Yeah,
the comments, I actually read them, and it actually eased me a little bit. It made me feel a lot better because it was mainly the comments of the people that I had seen comment elsewhere going, we'll see what's up with this guy. And then they see the video and they're like, all right, I'm on board. All right. Yeah.
So that's got to be encouraging. Yeah, and that's got to be encouraging because, as I mentioned earlier, the metal fans can be particularly brutal. Don't get me wrong; I've gone to a lot of shows, and it is one of the more welcoming communities as far as the camaraderie in the scene. You know what I mean? But the minute you do something that they want to turn their nose up at, they kind of come at you like vultures. You know what I mean? So, and Forbidden obviously has a very indelible sound. You know what I mean? A sound that people are used to, a sound that people haven't heard in a long time. But I think Forbidden is in very good hands. So I couldn't be happier for you and the rest of the guys. I mean, it's great. It's great to have you guys back in the thrash world. I mean, thrash music, especially that Bay Area scene. Those bands aren't going anywhere. They're fucking timeless. I just went to see the Bay Area Strikes Back last year, and I mean, Exodus, Death Angel, Testament, all in great fucking form. These guys are like, they found the fountain of youth.
Yeah, everybody's on the top of their game, so
they really are.
Time for us to jump in the pond too.
I can't wait. I can't wait, man. And I really appreciate you coming on here. And obviously, I'm just a text message away. Should you need any frontman advice?
Yeah, I'll be like
my services. Yeah.
I'll be like, how do I use those, samurai swords, man?
I'll be your advisor. I will be your front man Yoda.
There we go.
But listen, man, it's really been a pleasure talking to you, man. And I wish you the best of luck, man. And I know the fans will be watching, man. And, we can't wait.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you being here, man. Thanks a lot, buddy. I really do.
Awesome. You have a great day, buddy.
And let's keep in touch. And let's keep in touch. And when things start really popping, we'll get on here and we'll do it again.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm totally social and interactive. So yeah, man. Hit me up anytime.
Awesome. All right. Talk to you soon, buddy. Thank you. Appreciate it. Buddy. Later. Folks, that is Norman Skinner, and he just landed himself one hell of a gig. The rebirth of the mighty Forbidden Bay Area thrash legends. The metal world should be rejoicing. Great lineup. Norman Skinner will be filling the shoes, trying to fill the shoes. And if you've seen the video out there of him performing at the recent Interthrashional doing Chalice of Blood, the guy absolutely nailed it. I implore the metal fans out there, give this guy a chance. Do not be cutting him off at the knees because he is going to be a force. Forbidden is coming back, and they are going to be a force. Craig LaCicero, Steve Smythe, who the fuck am I forgetting here? Matt Camacho, Chris Contos. It is going to be a formidable lineup. And as you heard, new music will be on the way. They will be doing, obviously we'll be seeing them live for people that didn't catch them back in the day. The 1988 debut album, Forbidden Evil, a seminal album in the thrash metal world. Twisted into Form, 1990, another seminal album, and the list just goes on and on. I mean, every album that they made, as he said, even the ones in the 90s when grunge and hip-hop were all the rage, they were still putting out kick-ass fucking albums. So let's not be too harsh to judge, and if you're ready to be harsh to judge, go on YouTube, check out Norman Skinner's performance on there. Just go in there and search up Norman Skinner doing Chalice of Blood, and you will have your fucking socks blown off. Trust me on that. New Forbidden is on the way, and I, as a metalhead and a Forbidden fan, could not be happier. Let's just bring back one more legendary band. Why the fuck not? The Bay Area scene, as I said, stronger than ever. These guys are just out there in full force, still fucking doing it. And let's welcome Forbidden back into that fucking fold. Cannot wait. Hope you guys enjoyed that interview, and I really appreciate Norman Skinner coming on here because I'm sure, as I said, a lot of people are coming at him wanting to talk to him. This is big news in the metal world, so I want to thank him and salute him and very much wish him luck. This is going to go extremely well. Craig has made a great decision here, and these guys are going to be a force. So I hope you guys enjoyed that chat with Norman Skinner. And I remind you guys, until we meet again and do this fucking thing again, I want you guys to all take it easy and remember to keep it sleazy.